Hi, I'm Jessie, and this is my final presentation for COMM 251. And today I'm going to be discussing the same section that everyone else has been doing so far. It's part two, which is specifically chapter four, but I'm also going to be talking about chapter five a little bit. And this section basically discusses the tools that you need to make your pre and post interview impressions stand out to potential employers, and it runs how to create a resume, a cover letter, gives you some interview tips, and how to negotiate with your employer. And I really enjoyed this section because it was something I felt like I haven't actually sat down and took the time to read about, because I only knew the information that was needed to actually go into the interview, and not the steps that you can take before and after to better help you get that position. And I really like how this section laid out the entire job seeking process, from exploring, researching, applying, interviewing, following up, and negotiation. It went by step, so you can basically follow along if you are going in for an interview. And it made it really easy to follow along through the entire process and to get a closer insight onto what was most important when applying for a job. And I actually have an internship right now, and so I'm getting a little bit of a look into what that is because I'm in HR. So I've been able to see what they look for during an interview, which is helping, but it's nice to have it actually laid out on paper. So the first part talks about exploring, and it discusses shadowing people in the career area that you're in. And although I haven't done it outside of my career, I've taken advantage of it within my internship, because I'm in HR right now, like I said, and there's multiple parts of HR that I didn't know before I got into it. So there's like employee relations, there's what else is there? There's compensation and benefits, there's talent acquisition. So I've been able to shadow each part of HR so far, and that's really helped because I can figure out which part stands out to me the most. Um, and I've also, before I got into HR, I talked to a couple people who are in HR to gauge a better understanding of the career and if I would be interested in it, because a couple of my mom's friends are in HR. So I talked to them, asked them a couple questions, and like the book said, it was very helpful to understanding if I actually wanted to get into this career. The next section is researching, and it mentioned how you should use resources available on campus, such as the career planning centers, and which is the career center that we have on campus at Ball State. And I haven't been using that as much as I should because it's a free resource and it's they have a lot of stuff. I probably don't even know everything that they have. And I feel like I should be taking more advantage of that while I have the resources for free. So after reading this section, I'm definitely going to try to do that and look more into all the resources they have available to us. They also talk about how job fairs are really beneficial. And I attended a job fair last fall, and I actually really thought it was helpful. Although I didn't get any of the positions that I gave my resume out for, it was because they already kind of had people for internships. So they said to reach out next fall. But it still really helped me get used to talking to other people that I might be applying for their company and socializing, and also gave me some networking opportunities because I added some people on LinkedIn. So I thought that was really helpful, and I like how the book kind of pointed that out more. And it also talks about how the internet has obviously become more prevalent, and that's actually where I found my internship, was on Indeed. and how I got it too. That's how they reached out to me. And I've seen that my place of work uses this a lot to recruit people, whether it's Indeed. They also do some blind ads on Craigslist. And what else? They also use LinkedIn to contact some people. So it's become a lot more common, and the book definitely points that out, that that's definitely what most people are using now, and how it's important that you're comfortable with that. They also point out how it's important to research your potential employers to help you discover if you really want that job, and to also help customize your resume and cover letter, which I totally agree with, and I probably need to do more of. I only do a little bit of research on the places I've applied and write some notes, but I definitely think I need to go into more depth and not just look at their website, like actually dig deeper. And I really liked the chart on page 70 that gave you it gave you tools for professional excellence in LinkedIn, because I have LinkedIn right now, but I don't really know how to use it that much right now. It's just an app on my phone that I go on when I have some notifications. But the chart walks through some tips that they think are helpful to help with your networking and job search on the app. And networking is obviously very important for your future, and unfortunately, but also good, that it helps to know people where you're wanting to work. The next step was applying, and this was probably the most helpful for not only me, for everyone, because I never got a clear description of what a professional resume should look like. I just would look online and copy someone else's. And I also never knew that there were two different types of resumes that you should have, like a generic and a customized resume. I always just thought that a generic resume was what you gave everyone, but I didn't know you had to customize it to their needs. And I liked how the book walked through each section and described that section and discussed if it was important if you included it or not, because some things I didn't know that you weren't supposed to include or that you had to include, which really helped. And they also had a picture of the resume, so you could see what a basic one would look like. It also discusses the visual appeal of a resume, which I never really thought about, because it's the first thing an employer is going to look at is your resume, and they're just going to see your resume. So it's good to have a first impression of and to your employers. And for the cover letter, I've only created a cover letter once, and it was because it was required. So I really didn't know that much about cover letters and if they even were needed anymore. So I'm glad that it walked through that, because I didn't even really think about that before. And although most employers may not require a cover letter, sometimes it can help. And it's important to know how to make one just in case the time comes up where you have to. The next step was interviewing. And I honestly did not know that there was that much that went into preparing for an interview. Because in the past, I would just prepare some answers and practice them, and also have a couple of questions to ask at the end. I didn't know that there was like that much that went into before and after. And the mock interview that we did in this section really helped, because I was given really good feedback that I hadn't have thought about before, and that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, because when you have an interview, they don't obviously give you feedback. You just either get the job or you don't. And so I can use that feedback that she gave me to improve upon my answers that I gave. They also pointed out how you can practice your interviewing skills by recording yourself, which I've never done. I did that for my speech class before I gave speeches, but I've never done that for an interview. I usually just write out my answers on like a document and then go from there. But I think that'll really help, so I'm glad they pointed that out. There was also a lot that went into preparing your appearance, which I didn't really think about. So it talked about your hair, your nail color, tattoos, how much jewelry you should wear, what you should bring. And I need to look into that more because I only really thought about the clothes that I wore that was important. But I guess other things can come off that way too. And I also liked how it gave you things that both you and the interviewer should or shouldn't say, which I wasn't aware of, like illegal questions that they couldn't ask. So I haven't in the past paid attention to that, and how to reply to them. So that'll be really helpful once I get deeper into my career where it's like I'm getting a full-time job, a salary, and stuff like that. Next step is following up. And I've done this in the past. I usually send up a follow-up email. It talks about sending a follow-up letter, but I feel like emails are more common these days. So I would send up a follow-up email, which I'm glad that I got the okay on that. That's the thing that you're supposed to do. And the last step was negotiating, which I don't think I ever thought about this so far because I've only had like part-time jobs and then I have an internship now, so I haven't really had to negotiate for anything. But it'll be really beneficial in the future when I have to like defend myself for what I think I deserve from like salary, benefits, vacation time, and outweighing the differences between those two. And this was in chapter 5. I just wanted to touch on it a little bit because in my career I'm going to be dealing a lot with diversity because I'm in HR, and in the employee relations part of it, that's a lot of the problems that come up is diversity. So in my internship, the company really values diversity and makes the company actually, everyone in the company actually watch a diversity webinar, which I thought was really cool. So I did touch on this a lot in my internship so far. So thank you for watching my video. I really think that all of this information will be very helpful in the future, especially when I get deeper into my career and when I have to make sure that I'm ready when I'm applying to a bunch of different places, because I know that's what I'm going to be doing once I get out of school, applying to a lot of places, going to a lot of interviews. So I want to make sure I'm as prepared as I can be for that. So again, thank you for watching.